share with you, most people won't give you this perspective, and I'll get a lot of flack for this, but it's the truth. I'm going to share with you what is actually happening with Strategy B, Bitcoin, and what you need to look out for. So the issue with cryptocurrencies, there's a lot of tribalism and people throw mud without even understanding what they're saying. There's a lot of people saying in the cryptocurrency industry that Strategy B is going to collapse and go bankrupt. That shows a deep lack of understanding of number one, Bitcoin strategy model, and number two is what they're actually praying for. If you're praying for the downfall of Strategy B, I need you to listen to this video. So there's no single price that will collapse strategy. You need to understand how the mechanism works. There's two different forces that can quietly erode the value of the company and eventually take it out of business, but that's going to take a very long time. So let's first start with the strategy, what it does, no pun intended, Strategy B. I'm going to share with you the numbers and how they're set up and what it would take for Strategy B to go under and how that would destroy your crypto. So be careful what you're asking for. So Strategy holds 843,000 Bitcoin, okay? The next largest treasury holds 843,000 Bitcoin. They own 4% of the supply. Their average price paid is $75,000. They're at a paper loss of $8.8 billion. So how did they kick this off? They sold bonds at very low interest, $8 billion to buy the first set of Bitcoin. Those called their creditors. And they don't owe those creditors back for a long time. That's the key factor in this mechanism. So they created bonds. Those are their creditors. That's how they started buying the Bitcoin at very low interest. And that's not owed back for a long time. That's key. Then they have 15 billion on their balance sheet, which is their preferreds, which is their preferred stocks. That's where Michael Saylor is financially engineering preferred stocks, where you can buy STRC like a bond and get around 12%. And its net asset value is supposed to stay pegged to $100. They have Bitcoin on their balance sheet. They have creditors of $8 billion. They have 15 billion out for preferred, and they have 3.75 billion in cash. Now the 3.75 billion in cash is important because that is allowing them to hold and pay, okay, those dividends promised on the 15 billion preferred for almost 2 years. Okay, so what I want you to take away from this is the 8 billion borrowed to kick off Strategy B, okay, isn't owed back for a long time and it's very low interest, so that's good for them. The 15 billion in preferred out, which they bought more Bitcoin with, okay, they have 2.1 years of cash saved to pay those dividends, so that's a good thing. So there's two things that can create a collapse for strategy, but they're way far out, so people are getting this way wrong. If you're praying for their downfall, you're praying for your crypto to get destroyed. So one, the money machine stalls, and that's happening now because there's no excitement around Bitcoin. Everything's getting stagnant. We've been stagnant for a long time. Promised a super cycle by all these influencers' price predictions. So the money machine is stalling. People are not pouring in to Bitcoin right now. People are not excited about Bitcoin treasuries and his preferred. That part's stalling a little bit. Number two, the company goes bankrupt, and we are way far from that. So let me explain. Here's how the flywheel works, and then I'll give you the numbers of what would have to happen to collapse Strategy B. They sell new shares at a premium. They buy more Bitcoin. Excitement grows. They sell even more shares. Well, that excitement is dying down. So model number one is stalling. This is where the numbers come in, and you need to pay attention and be careful where you're throwing mud. Bitcoin hits 23,000. That's when the common stock is worth zero. So imagine that's the first marker. Bitcoin has to go all the way down to $23,000 for the stock to be worth zero, but that still won't collapse Strategy B. Next is where the company could go bankrupt way in the future. So if Bitcoin falls below $10,000, this is a true danger zone. But remember the 8 billion in bond I shared with you that has a long duration to be paid back at very low interest? That doesn't be paid back for a long time. So Bitcoin would have to go under $10,000 for a long time for the company to go bankrupt. Basically, they would just start selling off Bitcoin. Remember, he said he wouldn't sell Bitcoin. He sells off Bitcoin to keep the machine going. So what you're saying, if you want Strategy B to collapse, you're saying that you want Bitcoin to go under 23,000. And if you really want them to go under, you want it to go under $10,000 for a long time. It would take a long time for Strategy B to go bankrupt. So one big collapse isn't going to collapse Strategy B. A flash crash isn't going to liquidate them. Here's why. Because he doesn't have leverage outside of Strategy B. Seen other Bitcoin treasuries sell off and go bankrupt because they have leverage outside of their business. He built it inside of his business. The bonds created the business to buy the Bitcoin, sell preferred stock to buy more Bitcoin. creating cash equivalents to pay the dividends. So no one can liquidate him other than you getting liquidated at the same time. This is why I laugh when I see people throw mud at Michael Saylor. I'm like, you're throwing mud at yourself. You're literally throwing shit on your face. You're saying that you want Bitcoin to go under 23,000 first to make his stock worth zero. And you're saying that you want Bitcoin to go under 10,000 for a very long time. And guess what? Bitcoin controls 60% of the market. And if Bitcoin goes under 10,000 for a long time, your crypto portfolio, your altcoins are going to get destroyed for a long time. So do you see how logic changes everything? Do you see how throwing mud at other people without having the detail and the facts, figures, numbers, logic can destroy your portfolio? So know the numbers, guys. Study this stuff. Understand what you're investing in. I'm praying that he succeeds. I never pray on another man's downfall because I know that he has to go down to 23,000 to make his stock worth zero, common stock, and under 10,000 for a long time. And that would mean my Bitcoin would go under 10,000 for a long time. And what would I do? I'd buy a shitload more. I'd buy a lot more XRP because it would pull my altcoins down as well. So stop being tribal, stop being emotional, and start building actual conviction and understanding of the numbers. So for Michael Saylor to go bankrupt, Bitcoin needs to go under 10,000 for a very, very long time. And therefore, you're going down too if you own crypto. So be careful throwing mud when you don't know the numbers. But be proud of yourself for staying this long to understand them. I love you guys. Warriors, rise, get your shit together. I'm still stacking.